Janice, welcome to the Positive Leadership Academy podcast.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Right. I have a question. I'd like to start more on the human side, and I'm curious to know how did your journey for caring for your own aging parents lead you to talk about aging and dedicating your career to this work?
So it kind of went the other way around, strangely enough. I had actually moved to the US. I'm in Canada, and the person that I was working with was a geriatrician, and he cared for his patients in a way that I had never seen anybody do. My background at that time was in marketing, and he wanted some help with doing health fairs. So my part in what he did was to book the health fairs, make them happen, whatever. And I started watching the difference he was making for these people and talking to him about his patients. I became very interested and ended up going back to school in my late 40s to learn more about aging, like gerontology. And so my parents at that point probably were in their mid 70s and were healthy. So I didn't start caring for them until I had already gone back to school and had a pretty good foundation of what to do with them. Now, that being said, I'm always, even as a joke, I didn't do everything perfectly with my parents, even though I knew how to do it. But it gave me such an insight into what families are going through and how this all works and how amazing this doctor really was, given what the reality is of when your parents are aging.
Yes, absolutely. And I had the pleasure of working. I did a project for a nonprofit that it was interesting. They were saying that a lot of senior citizens tend to go to emergency care to get attention because obviously they feel lonely and there's not a sense of community that they can rely on. They can get the support. I work for this nonprofit to create kind of like a course to create communities within them so they can find support, they can get that human contact that they're not getting, right? Because there's a lot of senior citizens, they're not getting that, right? They're getting alienated from everything, and it's something to think about. And obviously the younger generations don't see that because they're not there yet, but it's something that I have seen, and that really educated me on really being present and having great conversations and great connections. It was a very, very fulfilling learning experience for me.
Yes, I mean, I would agree with you that a lot of people seek attention in however they can get it. The other reality is, if you're talking about medical care, is that there's a lot of ageism. I mean, that's just the way it is that doctors and other health professionals, if they're not as progressive in their attitude, sometimes see older patients as more of a problem than something that is there really for them to really make a huge difference in their life. So it's a lot of education, not just for the seniors, but for all of the industries around it, to understand that just because you're getting older doesn't mean that you have an expiry date on you. And that care in all ways needs to happen. And even for our kids, as I'm getting older and I look at my kids, I'm teaching them that, hey, when I'm 90 years old, hopefully, I'm still going to be a vital person. And those are the things that you have to be aware that it doesn't matter what changes, there's still me in there.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. That is powerful. Yeah, we yeah, you're still a human being no matter
Right.
what.
Right.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have a concept, and I think I'm gonna butcher the concept. It's kind of being more present, right?
Presenteeism?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah.
concept, right? But where employees they're physically at work, but not fully, productive, right? Because their mind is about obviously caring for the loved ones as well. Can you paint a picture of our leaders and what they actually look like on a day to day in their organizations?
So what can happen is somebody is sitting at their desk, but you see them going like this and they're on their cell phone or they're
Mm,
walking away and they're on a conversation with their parent, their sibling, a doctor, whoever, and they're trying to, within their workday, deal with the realities of caring for their parents. So they don't want to not be at work, but they're not fully present to what they're doing. They're distracted, or their loved one, their parent is in the hospital and their brain is half in the hospital and half sitting in their chair. And so again, they look like they're doing work, but you're seeing that their productivity has shifted. So there are things where they're literally sitting in their desk, but their normal way of being productive or getting their
Mm.
tasks or goals achieved, you see a shift. And sometimes you don't know what that is. All you see is a change, and we can talk about that later. But that's really what presenteeism is, or you're stressed. You're under stress, and anybody that's under stress for whatever reason it is also is not always at their best and giving 100%.
Yeah, and I see that sometimes with individuals, it can really paralyze them in a way where because I do feel some frustration. I do have some clients that they're caregivers, and I see that frustration because in that concern, like I cannot get out from work, or my manager won't let me, step out, or trying to make appointments for my mom and my dad, and you can feel that frustration, that stress that they're having as well, and obviously they're not getting the support they need at work to deal with that, right? So it's kind of interesting how some leaders are willing to be more flexible with your kids, but not with your parents that you're taking care of.
Well, because you're 100% right there. Taking care of your children is normal. We see that as a normal part of
Yeah.
life in the family. And we've been doing it, and we accept, yeah, your little one's at daycare and they may call you and say your child is ill and you got to go and pick them up. But we don't see the other side because it's really more hidden. We don't talk about it. So when it's your parent and you want to take your parent to the doctor, you're going to call in sick for yourself. You're not going to say, I'm taking my mom to the doctor, because in some organizations, people aren't comfortable with sharing that because they're afraid, oh, now my employer is going to see me in a different light. So, but if it's my doctor's appointment, that's again normal and understandable.
Yeah.
So we just haven't gotten there yet. It's not that it's not happening. We just have to change our culture to say, this is what's happening. If you look at the demographics, people are getting older. I just read a statistic in the UK that every day 600 people are leaving their jobs because they're caring for parents and cannot do both.
Hmm.
Like, that's a huge number of people that are
Yes.
walking away from their job because they can't juggle all the balls in the air.
Yeah. Exactly. And you mentioned that there's roughly 28.5 of the population over 65 by 2031. And they said that obviously a 50,000 US dollars employee caregiving on the side can cost roughly an organization $12,500, right? And lost productivity in a way, right?
And people not being, having to take time off, or they're away because they're stressed, or they have a physical illness, because stress can cause physical side effects. So they've got migraines, or they've got physical stress in their body, and it's costing companies a lot of money, and they don't understand necessarily, well, what's happening with my staff members, because it's, again, that curve is just coming and people are not necessarily aware of the why.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And at the obviously, United States is one of the countries where healthcare is so expensive, right? I talk to so many individuals that want to retire from the corporate world, and the first thing that comes to mind is healthcare, right? That healthcare is going to be so expensive, so I need to work longer, and it's one of the expenses that I think kind of cripples a lot of the funding for people that want to retire and kind of live a comfortable way, a life that they deserve to live in a comfortable way, right? Instead of being stressed out and depending on others. I have a question for you, for leaders that are listening who just realize that they have employees, right, silently carrying this burden at work. What are perhaps first or three things that you can do tomorrow to start supporting kind of caregiving stuff without really overwhelming with some of the entire HR system that they have in place.
So if your company is already compassionate in a way where if people have challenges, that makes it easier for them to go to HR or to their manager or boss. But even on an individual level, it's called what I call the C program. And the S is literally for C. See what's going on around you. If you see that somebody is struggling, don't assume what it is, but just be aware. Start with awareness. I see some changes. And then the first E is to explore without preconceived notions, just to sit down with that person and say, Javier, I see that some things are going on. Is there anything that has changed? Is there anything that's gone on with you? Any differences only in the workplace, but other places? And if the person feels safe that it's okay to do that, you have to create that level of safety to say it doesn't, whatever it is, we're open to hearing and we want to help out. And that's what the second E is enable. If somebody is coming to you and saying, yeah, my parent is ill in the hospital and I'm really stressed, for the manager or company to say, let's see how we can help you. What can we do? Is it flexible hours? Is it you need some time off to take care of these things? Is it that we can provide resources for you? A lot of companies have EAP, like their employee assistance. So maybe if counseling is going to help? Or is it that you're already under stress and you need therapy to deal with it? So companies can provide a lot of support without it affecting them or having to provide the actual support, but to be there to say, okay, we understand and we want and value you. And if we can find a way to help you, we will. The other thing on a longer term kind of solution is that there are ways to help those employees be more productive while they are at work, even if they are dealing with parents. And that's really one of the ways that I feel I can help people, is that I can help them balance things better, to make those decisions outside the office that allow them to be sitting in the office and feel confident things are being handled. How to deal with your family, how to deal with all of these other things, being prepared so that you're not sitting there going, it's nobody knows, it's just me. Nobody's helping. I have no one to talk to. I haven't talked to my parents. There's so many things that can be done that can help that staff member, even if they are in the middle of it, to be able to have better balance of work and home life.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's why I wanted you in this podcast, because I feel that a lot of leaders kind of oversee this as well, right? I mean, leaders tend to work on their psychological safety, communication, leadership style, creating a better cohesive work environment, but they, in a way, forget to realize that there is outside things happening in their lives that can affect their employees. And one of them is if you're a caregiver, right? So that's something very important for them to be aware and really open up the conversation, like you say. So that way they can feel supported, right? And at the same time, I think by providing the support, you are definitely increasing productivity on your employees. And also, I hate the word red, but obviously people staying in work. Yeah,
And that's what you want to do. The goal is productivity and retention and, employees that are satisfied, that are not doing what they're doing in the UK, which is literally saying, I can't do both.
hmm
Because
yeah.
the cost to bring somebody else in new is so prohibitive that that's not what you want to be doing. You're much better to support your current employee than to, have to onboard somebody.
Exactly. Exactly. I have I mean, obviously you advise caregivers to really ask for help, but one of the things that I think also here in the States is the daughters feel like they are, hey, this is the job that I'm also supposed to do, right? It's really interesting when you see families and they have siblings, they have male, and it's like the daughters are the one, even though they're younger ones, the older brother, it's like they feel like, okay, well, this is the part that I need to do. And obviously, right now, there's a lot of women out there with a lot of leadership roles, like they should be, right? What is a good approach for them so they don't feel that in a way necessary guilt? They're the ones that they need to take care of.
It's a societal thing, is that is how we are brought up, is that it is the daughters or daughters-in-law that will take care of the parents. And what it can do when you're in your job and you're in your, late 40s, early 50s, and you want to advance, you're afraid to tell your employer, hey, I've got these challenges, because then you think my advancement is going to be stifled because they're going to think I can't do both. Or you yourself think you can't do both because I have this thing to do. One of the things that I tell people, and it's not just women, but women more so, is that there's no obligation that you have to be the caregiver. There's no obligation. If you can't do it, you don't live in the same city, or, for whatever reason you feel that you're not capable, you can bring in other people to do that. You can have, other family members. You can have faith-based community help. You can hire people to come in. As long as your parent or loved one is being cared for, it doesn't hinge on it being you. The other thing is that women, a lot of them at that age, they still have either university or high school age kids still at home. And you want to be able to make sure that those kids are taken care of, and your husband and yourself and your social life. It's a lot of balls up in the air. And part of what I want to tell women is give yourself permission not to be perfect with everything.
Hmm.
Those balls will fall. I
Yes.
don't care who you are. There's going to be times where you're just going to go, I don't know. I don't have the
Yeah.
ability to do it all. And it's, again, asking for help, which women don't tend to do as well, to say, I need some help. And part of what I do is, and I did it with my own family, is when your parents are healthy, this is the time to start this conversation, which is
Mm.
why I called my company Talk About Aging, because we don't sit down with your family at Christmas or Easter or a holiday and say, what would happen if you got,
Yeah.
would you want this or this or this? Who's your powers of attorney? Where would I find your banking information? And again,
Exactly.
you don't have to give it to me today, but just in case, I want to know, would you want
Yes.
to have extraordinary things happen if, God forbid, something should happen to you? So that when it happens and the doctor says, what do you want? You can go, this is it. You're not put in a crisis where you're like, I don't know. I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. Or I want this. I want this. Well, what does the parent want? It takes all of the stress off of you in that way, to say, here's written, my written thing that I would want to have happen. You don't have that, then those doctors will make the
Hmm.
decisions for you.
Hmm. Yes.
Not always optimal.
In case
Yep.
something happen,
My red,
and
this
this
is
is
it.
what you need.
Yeah. And it's not that it's going to make it happen. That's the other thing is, oh, let's
Exactly.
talk about
It's
it.
not wishing for that.
It's not going to happen. It's just going to make it easier if it does happen, that you are prepared. I have my red file. My kids know my will is in there. My powers of attorney are in there. All my living will is in there. Here's all my banking,
Yeah.
information. It's all there. But if we don't talk about it, and a crisis hits, that's
Yeah.
when you go, why didn't I do that? Why didn't we talk about that? Did you
Yes.
know? Did you know? No, I have no idea. My father literally was asked for my mom, would you want to do not resuscitate? And my father looked at this doctor like, I said, no, 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 it's okay, Dad. Here's what mom wants. Here it is. You don't have to decide. It's
Exactly. Yes.
decided. And you don't realize until you have gone through that and watched it happen, how important it is to prepare. I think, as I had said earlier, if you see that your staff member is struggling in some way, be compassionate, ask the
Mhm.
questions. Don't assume that you know what's going on, because it's with everything. The more information you have, the better decisions you can make. And I think if we create compassionate workplaces, the truth is, every organization, I don't care how big it is, IBM, Ford, every organization, it's people. The company is all people, and that is what's going to make or break you in a lot of ways, is who your employees are and how they're showing up for you. So when we're compassionate employers and leaders and managers, we're going to get more out of our employees, more retention, more productivity, more loyalty, and that helps your company then thrive. So
Absolutely.
that would be it. It's just think about it if it was you. I think that's really the best thing. If it was you, how would you want to be treated? So you can find me in a few places. You can find me on LinkedIn under Janice Goldmintz. You can find me on Facebook under Talk About Aging. I have a website, talkaboutaging.com. And if you're interested in information on sort of this hidden aspect of caregivers, I have information that I can send to you. My email address is janice@talkaboutaging.com. Happy to talk with you, send information, go on my website and help out. Thanks so much.